I'd like to welcome Auntie Sharon to the lectern to give the welcome to country.
Wow, that's bright. Hi, everyone. Oh, I better get it ready, hadn't I? Ooh. I'm very honoured to be here today. I had a little bit of laugh this morning when they said on the news that they didn't know where Anthony Albanese was going. It was a secret. I knew. Anyway, I like having one up on them. Yapalingana Malathina Pakana. Hello and welcome to Aboriginal land. My mob stands very proud on land that we know as Lutruwita, but you know it as Tasmania. I am a very proud Aboriginal woman, elder, and Palawa woman. I stand very proud in my identity as one, as I hope you also stand proud in your own identities. I pay my respects to our elders past, present and our future elders, especially our ancestral women who were very strong women. I suppose they had to be, really. I acknowledge the strength and survival of all Australians. It doesn't matter what colour your skin is. May all your lives be happy and healthy. On behalf of my people, I wish you all success in your endeavours, big or small. And I notice a lot of women here, which is good, isn't it? What was Helen... What was Helen Reddy's song? I am woman, hear me roar. Yeah, anyway, yeah. May our elders past and present guide you all. Now, a little bit of my personal views. My little darling over there, Michelle O'Byrne, love her so much. Then we have my friend Ross Hart, who is a very selfless person. We desperately need him in Canberra. Oh. And there's only, very much so, and there's only 14 sleeps to go before you find out. So, but I feel very, very confident. I'm not going to bed this time like I did last time. Labor were in front, you were in front. So I thought, oh, you beauty. I went to bed. Got up in the morning, it was all different. So I'm not going to bed till it's all over this year. We also have our Janie. Where's our Janie? Hello, darling. Always smiling, look at her. Oh, I love you all. And as for our Anthony Albanese, look, I think he's absolutely fantastic. We need him. We know. And I know the Labor Party is all for treaty, which is absolutely fantastic for the First Nations here in Tassie. So that'll do me. Okay, now stay safe and healthy in these unusual times. Neri Nina too, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to my good friend Auntie Sharon for that warm welcome to country. Thank you to everyone who has joined us here today for the Tasmanian launch of our campaign to elect an Albanese Labor government. A few brief acknowledgements. Rebecca White, Leader of the Opposition. My good friend Mark Butler MP, Tony Burke. Brian Mitchell. Chris Lynch. Anne Urquhart. my great friend Julie Collins, Helen Polly, Chris Davis, Carol Brown, Kat Billig, and a wonderful other Senate and House colleagues and candidates. You're all here today because you know that on May 21, Australia has an important choice to make. And the people here in northern Tasmania have a choice to make. The choice couldn't be starker here in Bass. Whether you're in Invermay, Mowbray, Georgetown, or in Scottsdale, Kings Meadows, Exeter, Lilydale, or on Flinders Island, we, all of us, can choose a better future or more of the same, because a vote for any Liberal is a vote for Scott Morrison. Only Labor understands the crisis facing our healthcare system in Tasmania. It's getting harder and more expensive to get medical care that you need when you need it. Labor's urgent care clinics are just what northern Tasmania needs to address the far too prevalent issue of access to bulk billed medical care. Labor's determination to support manufacturing in northern Tasmania means that an icon of northern Tasmania, Waverley Woolen Mills, will be reimagined with good, well-paid jobs for 120 workers using recycled fabric and Australian wool to create premium products. Labor's investment in home-based aged care in northern Tasmania will see Community Care Tasmania establish a centre of excellence to deliver training and respite right here in Launceston. And I'm proud to say that an Albanese Labor government will deliver the much-needed end-of-life care, with a hospice to be finally delivered at the Launceston General Hospital precinct after years of inaction by the Liberals. Now, on the theme of choices, I've chosen to put my hand up again after a decision which took mere seconds. I wish to serve this vibrant, hard-working and diverse community as I did in 2016 to 2019, a period of service cut short by less than 600 votes. We in this room all know that Bass, Tasmania and Australia needs an Albanese Labor government. Northern Tasmania needs investment in manufacturing jobs, well-paid full-time jobs in sustainable industries, including those jobs that are emerging in renewable energy, hydrogen investment and iconic enterprises like Waverley Woolen Mills right here in Launceston. Australia needs a Labor government to deliver a strong anti-corruption commission because Scott Morrison is yet again missing in action and doesn't believe in integrity. I, like all of you here today, choose a future which is positive. A government led by Anthony Albanese which delivers a better future for all. But friends, how can we do this? It's close. There are positive signs that a Labor government can take back Bass, Braddon and hold Lyons. But there's no certainty. One thing's for sure, there are never any easy wins for a Labor government. This is not something any of us can take for granted. We must win those over who are undecided and make the case for a Labor government, if necessary, street by street and suburb by suburb. It's so great to be standing here and seeing each of you who've attended here today to show your support for the Labor team. But events like this have a higher purpose, to reinforce that the Labor family have an obligation to deliver fairness and equity, a better future through electing a Labor government. That obligation must mean that each of us plays a part in the coming 2 weeks. We in the Bass campaign have had daily requests for a sign or contact to assist in the campaign. Already we have 75% more signs throughout Bass than the last election, but signs alone do not win the vote. We need to have conversations with people who may yet come to the decision that this rotten government has to go. And this is important. There are also people who have to understand once and for all that a vote for Bridget Archer, indeed a vote for any Liberal candidate, is a vote for Scott Morrison, and more chaos and more denial of responsibility. To get rid of this government, we need you. We need you on election day and at pre-poll. We need you on the doors. We need you on the phones and alongside me and our other candidates at street stalls. We need to show Scott Morrison and the Liberals that voters in Bass, in Braddon, Clark, Franklin and Lyons demand an honest, competent government that delivers on its promises and won't go missing when it counts. I'm proud to be standing here in this room today looking at all these faces of people who are ready for a change. We are ready for an Albanese Labor government. I extend my sincere thanks to our next Prime Minister, my friend Anthony Albanese, for joining us here today. And because health is such a key battleground, sorry, gotcha. I'll start from the top. And because health is such a key battleground here in Tasmania, I'm excited to invite to the stage our next Minister for Health in an Albanese Labor government, Mark Butler.
What a wonderful candidate for the seat of Bass. He's decent, he's thoughtful, he's articulate, and he bleeds the colours of the Apple Isle. Thank you, Ross, for that beautiful introduction. And thank you again, Auntie Sharon, for that warm welcome to country and a reminder that an Albanese Labor government will implement all of the elements of the Statement of the Heart from Uluru. What a wonderful pleasure to be back in the great state of Tasmania, joining all of you, supporters, members of the ALP, on another balmy autumn day in Launceston. Look at you all in your T-shirts. What are you thinking? With my Tasmanian colleagues, Julie, Brian, Helen, Katrina and Carol, and some fantastic candidates in the lower house. Obviously, Ross, who you've heard from, but Chris Lynch in Braddon and Simon Davis in Clark, as well as Kate and Daniel joining us on the Senate ticket at the coming election. And my friend, the wonderful Rebecca White, State Leader of the Labor Party, Michelle, Katie, other members of the State Labor team, and to all of you. Friends, coming off the back of 30 of the toughest months this country has endured in decades, this election could not be more important, because Australians simply can't afford another 3 years of Scott Morrison's failures and his rorts. He says this election isn't about him, that it's about you. Well, he's right, it is about you and how he has failed you. He says you should think about him the same way you think about your dentist, as if that image of him washing that woman's hair wasn't already enough to put you off your cornflakes. Imagine his hands in your mouth. He says you don't have to like your dentist, you just need them to fix your teeth, and maybe he's right. But what he doesn't seem to get is that the reason Australians could not imagine going to Scott Morrison, the dentist, has nothing to do with his questionable likeability ratings. It's because we're all pretty sure he'd take out the wrong tooth. And then he'd blame the dental nurse, or Dan Andrews, or one of the other Labor premiers, because that is the track record of this most incompetent Prime Minister in living memory. Every time Australia has needed their Prime Minister to step up over the last 3 years, he's let them down and then blamed someone else. When the former fire chiefs warned him to prepare for Black Summer, he didn't listen and he didn't act. Instead, he booked a ticket to Hawaii. And when he finally returned home, he told Australians it wasn't his job to protect them from bushfires because he doesn't hold a hose. He was warned that he needed to buy and secure early supplies of vaccines. But again, he didn't listen, he didn't act. And he told Australians not to worry because it's not a race. Just think about that. Just think about that. Getting vaccinated in a raging global pandemic is not a race. Well, by the middle of last year, with 3/5 of our country languishing in lockdown, it looked a hell of a lot like a race to most Australians. And it was a race we were losing because Scott Morrison delivered us the slowest vaccine rollout in the developed world. Millions of workers unable to go to work, millions of kids unable to attend school, lives lost, livelihoods smashed, an enormous and enduring mental health impact we will feel for years, all because Scott Morrison again failed to do his job. He was warned that hotels were not built for quarantine. He didn't listen and he didn't act. He was warned last September he needed to order huge supplies of rapid antigen tests. But again, he didn't listen and he didn't act. That's Scott Morrison all over. He never listens. He never takes responsibility. And when things go wrong, as they do so often under his leadership, he always tries to blame someone else. And time again, Australians end up paying a huge price. And does anyone really think that things will get better with 3 more years of Scott Morrison as Prime Minister? Well, as Ross said, we know the rorts won't stop. He's made that clear enough. But does anyone really think that he'll change? That he'll suddenly start listening, start taking responsibility, stop blaming others for his own failures and mistakes? This cynical, incompetent Prime Minister whose whole persona is more forced than a Cabago handshake, who doesn't think that infrastructure is an economic portfolio because the only thing he's ever built is his own nickname. Friends, Australia can do better than that. Australians deserve better than that. After all they have been through over the past few years, and with all of the challenges, as well as the opportunities that we face, that this nation faces over coming years, Australia needs a Labor government committed to building a better future. And friends, an essential part of that Albanese Labor government will be the leader of the Tasmanian caucus. A caucus that I can tell you, being from the Northern Ireland, is feared and respected in equal measure by the rest of us in Canberra because, friends, they hunt as a pack. Relentlessly, fearlessly arguing the case for this great state of Tasmania. Please welcome my dear friend, my valued colleague, Julie Collins.
Well, what an afternoon. Thank you, Mark. As we've heard, Scott Morrison in 3 more years is a pretty ordinary thought for most of us in this room. But in stark contrast to Scott Morrison, who has cut away at Medicare, Anthony Albanese will be a Prime Minister who will always back Tasmanians. I've had the pleasure of knowing Anthony for quite a number of years, I won't tell you how many, as a valued colleague and as a friend. But Anthony isn't just my friend, he's Tasmania's friend. He will always act for us. Since becoming leader of the Australian Labor Party, Anthony has visited our state time and time again to hear from ordinary Tasmanians about the issues facing our home state. On one of the first trips he made as leader of the Australian Labor Party was to come and meet northern Tasmanians in Ravenswood to hear how Labor could do better for them. The simple truth is, Anthony is on our side. When he was a minister in the previous Labor government, he had the vision to invest in projects, big and small, right across the state that have helped transform our island. He particularly helped kickstart the upgrade of the Midland Highway, invested in the Kingston and Brighton bypasses, restoring the Apt Railway on the west coast, upgrading the Brooker Highway, investing in freight rail, and his strategic investments of our state's tourism industries, such as the Three Capes track, have helped pave the way for the success of this incredible sector here in our island. This is the Anthony that we all know. He listens to Tasmanians. He cares and he acts. We know he listens because Labor's policies will mean a better future for all Tasmanians. Fixing our health system and strengthening Medicare, including 3 new bulk-billed urgent care clinics here in Tasmania to take the strain off our state's emergency departments. Addressing the spiralling costs that of cost of living in Tasmania with cheaper childcare, cheaper power bills, cheaper medicines and more well-paid, secure jobs. Labor and Anthony will put the care back into aged care with a plan to stop the neglect and put the security, dignity, quality and humanity back into the aged care for older Australians. And our suite of policies will go some way to helping fix Tasmania's housing crisis. You can't knock on a door or pick up a phone and talk to Tasmanians without hearing how dire this really is in our island state. But it's not just the policies that Anthony has put forward that will help Tasmania. Anthony will show up every single day and take responsibility. He won't blame others. He won't deflect and spin. He won't call our state beggars, and I'm sure you all remember that. Anthony will be a Prime Minister if he's elected that supports Tasmania, and it's our job to make sure this happens. We have just 2 weeks from today to do everything we can to make sure Anthony and Labor are the next government in Australia. The Tasmanian Liberals will be up to all their dirty tricks to try and stop us from winning. So it's up to us. We need to dig deep. They might have more money, but we have a much better asset. We have all of you here in this room today and the many Labor supporters right across our island state. We know Tasmania always helps decide the election outcome. So what we need to do here over the next 2 weeks could make the difference. We need to make sure our friend Anthony Albanese becomes the Prime Minister, or we do face 3 more years of Scott Morrison. As Ross Hart had indicated, if we changed just over 280 votes last time, Ross Hart would still mean the member for Bass. Let that sink in. Just over 280 votes to change. This election could be just as tight, and we don't want to wake up on May 22 thinking we didn't do everything that we could. So please dig deep over the next 2 weeks. This means hitting the doors, making calls, standing at street stalls, talking to your friends and your family about the Labor candidates and the Labor policies, and it will mean that Anthony Albanese could become Prime Minister on the 21st of May. We have sign-up sheets around the room to help you connect with our fantastic campaigns. We want to help Brian Mitchell continue as the federal member for Lions. We want to elect Simon Davis as the federal member for Clark. We want to elect Chris Lynch as the federal member for Braddon. And of course, help elect Ross Hart as the federal member for Bass yet again. So friends, it's up to us to make it happen. Labor and Anthony Albanese are needed more than ever on May 21 for a better future for Tasmanians. So let's make Anthony Albanese Prime Minister of Australia. Let's welcome Anthony to the room now.
I love you too. Thank you very much for that warm Tasmanian welcome. Can I begin by thanking Auntie Sharon for the welcome to country. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, pay my respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, and recommit on behalf of the Australian Labor Party to the implementation of the Uluru Statement from the Heart in full. Can I acknowledge the great Tasmanian team, led by Julie Collins, Brian Mitchell, Ross Hart, our candidate here in Bass, Chris Lynch, our candidate in Braddon, and Simon Davis, our candidate in Clark. Our Senate team, Anne Urquhart, Carol Brown, Helen Polly and Katrina Billick. And our Senate candidates, Kate Rainbird and Daniel Hume. Can I acknowledge someone who's been a friend of mine for a very long period of time, the next Premier of Tasmania, Rebecca White. Friends, 2 weeks from now, Australia can choose a better future. a better future for Australia, a better future for Tasmania. The choice is clear and the choice is urgent. The cost of living is rising now. Climate change is here now. Our region is changing now. The jobs and skills and infrastructure that will grow our economy are needed now. And I thank Julie for outlining some of the things that we worked together to build here in Tasmania the last time we were in government. There is a crisis in aged care now. If we don't act, these problems will just get bigger. This government have been in office for almost a decade, and they're saying, just give us 3 more years and we'll get around to it. Just another 3, give us a go. Well, Australia simply cannot afford 3 more years of the same. 3 more years of the same. 3 more years of never accepting responsibility. 3 more years of a Prime Minister when confronted with the challenges of his own making or just challenges that come to pass in our great country, always has the same response. It's not my job, is what he says. Well, I want the job and I want to do the job. Now, at this election, there is a real choice. There's a better choice. That choice is Labor and our plan to build a better future. A Labor government that will use the lessons of the pandemic to make Australia stronger, more resilient. We need to learn those lessons and build back stronger. A Labor government that has a plan to address the cost of living crisis. Cheaper childcare, cheaper electricity prices, cheaper medicines. A plan to strengthen Medicare and fix aged care. A plan to make jobs more secure. Too many people are working in casualised employment. The figure that we have now is that 500,000 Australians are working 3 or more jobs. That's not the starting point that people have. That's because they need to do that, to just pay their rent, to put food on the table, to pay their bills. And yet, what does this government say about those cost of living pressures? They say that it's enough to have one-off payments, a $250 payment. We supported that. But it ends. It ends. It's over. It's already done. No structural changes to make people's lives easier. Well, the payments from this government are temporary, but the pain of their neglect is permanent. And that's why we need to change the government. We need a government with a plan to make more things here, to have a future made in Australia. And today I'll outline just some of the measures specifically for Tasmania that we've worked on with the private sector to make sure that we can do just that. I make this point. We are the only party at this election seeking to govern in our own right. Only Labor. The so-called coalition, it's an odd coalition where the Deputy Prime Minister thinks that the Prime Minister can't be trusted, and the more that you know him, the less trustworthy he is. But nonetheless, that's what's there. But they have a coalition agreement, which is secret, that they resist all FOI attempts, all legal attempts don't you think that Australians have a right to know what the basis of the government is? But under this government, no. We will govern in our own right. We won't be doing deals with minor parties. We will have, on May 21, with the support of the Australian people, a Labor government that implements the program that we're outlining during this election. Because when you vote for a Labor candidate like my friend Ross Hart, you're voting to make life better for yourself, your children, your community, your state of Tasmania and the nation. Because when you elect a Labor Member of Parliament, you're also getting a team with the experience, the intellect, the compassion and the ambition to shape Australia's future. Our priority, just as it always has been, will be to use the power of government to change the lives of Australians for the better. Two big sub-themes I talk about during this campaign. No one left behind, because Labor will always look after the disadvantaged, but also no one held back, because Labor is the party of aspiration and opportunity. I know it, it's my personal story. It's my personal story. We are the party that built Medicare in the face of fierce opposition from the Liberals. Protecting universal health care has been one of the fundamental divides between the two major parties, and strengthening Medicare will be a key focus of an incoming Labor government. We'll roll out 50 GP-led Medicare Urgent Care Clinics across the country, including one right here in Lonnie. These clinics will be open for longer hours, 7 days a week. They'll provide a whole range of medical services for life's unexpected surprises that come along. The kid with the broken arm or an ear infection. They will make it easier for Australians to see a doctor when they need it. And with their own nursing staff, walk-in urgent care clinics will help to take the pressure off hospital emergency departments, which have been under enormous strain during the pandemic. Importantly, particularly here in Tasmania, something that no matter where I've been, whether it's Launceston, Burnie, Hobart, Richmond, everywhere in between, bulk billing is such a big issue. And access to bulk billing is something that I heard this morning walking around here. These services will be bulk billed, and that will make a major difference. You will not need your wallet, just your Medicare card. Now, Labor will also restore Telehealth, psychiatric consultations for rural and regional Australians. This is absolutely crucial because it wasn't just our physical health that the pandemic took a toll on. Similarly, it's why we have a program of support for every school to help our youngest Australians overcome the difficulties that came from not having that social interaction that's so important at school level, and why we have that program. But in terms of telehealth, it's so critical because the truth is that the pandemic has made serious inroads into our emotional and mental health. We'll reverse this government's reprehensible cut to psychiatric telehealth consultations. And we will make medicines cheaper for Australians. Now, the price of medications is just one of the things that's gone up under the Morrison government, just like the cost to see a doctor has gone up. We'll reduce the cost of medications on the PBS by $12.50, making it cheaper for general patients. Under Labor, the maximum price will be $30. Now, the Pharmaceutical Benefit Scheme has something in common with other great institutions and reforms that define the idea of a fair go in Australia. All of them done by Labor, done by Labor. Labor will also improve the lives of Australian children with hearing difficulties. Kids with hearing loss deserve the best possible start in life and the best possible care and support, no matter where they live. A Labor government will ensure that our children are looked after, whether through digital or on-the-ground support services. We will fund the development of the digital Hear Hub platform run by Shepherd Centres. What Shepherd Centres do is provide support services, including development of speech and communication skills, life skills, and emotional resilience, areas where hearing impaired children and teens need that intensive clinical support. Now, this service is available in all the states of Australia except one. See if you can guess which one. Once again, Tasmania has been left off the map of Australia fashioned by the Morrison government. Well, we'll ensure that every state has these centres, not 5 out of 6. And we'll service the whole state with 2 centres based in Hobart and Launceston. Now, this is precisely the sort of policy that I say will make a real difference to Australians. The kind of thing that I mean when I say no one held back and no one left behind. Good health care with Medicare at its foundation gives Australians a sense of security and confidence that makes it possible to plan ahead and to achieve their aspirations. Now, just as we know Australians need to strengthen Medicare, we know Australians need real solutions on affordable housing. Our Housing Australia Future Fund will do just that. It will build 20,000 new social housing units and 10,000 affordable homes in the next 5 years. As well as new housing for homeless veterans. We'll provide $100 million for crisis and transitional housing for women and children at risk of violence. And if the Australian people give me the great honour of leading our great nation, we'll create a new Help to Buy program. Now, this national shared equity scheme, based upon existing schemes, the one in WA has been in operation for more than 30 years. It's a great success. Other countries do this well in the UK. It shouldn't be a partisan issue, and indeed it wasn't a partisan issue when Scott Morrison spent a decade backing it in until we announced it. These things work. What it's about is making sure that people who couldn't get into home ownership in any other way get a helping hand. Get a helping hand. This will provide an equity contribution from the Commonwealth of up to 10,000 aspiring homeowners every year who are on low and middle incomes. Help to Buy will assist Australians to buy a home with a smaller deposit, a smaller mortgage, and therefore smaller mortgage repayments. An Australian Labor government will help you to achieve the great Australian dream of home ownership. Now, it's a plan to put government to work, backing up and investing in everyday people, because that's what good government should do. Help to Buy is exactly what I mean when I talk, as I do often, about an economy that works for people, not the other way around. It's a common theme that runs through our policy program at this election, helping real people with the real challenges that they face with real solutions. The government talks about the economy as if it's some abstract thing from people, because for them, they are just so out of touch with what is going on the ground that they actually think people have it easy right now. The best way, of course, to get the economy working for our people is to create good, secure jobs. This is so important in Tasmania, where you have, as I'm sure you're aware, the highest level of casual work in the country. Now, casual work for some, my son has a casual job at Woolies. It's great. Gives him an income while he's at uni. Fantastic. I worked a number of casual jobs, working my way through school and university. But we shouldn't take away the potential for people when they finish school or TAFE or university to actually get permanent work. But for too many people, it's becoming just too hard. Now, a Labor government will embrace the jobs-generating powerhouse that is renewable energy. It's cheap and it's abundant in Australia. We can be a renewable energy superpower if we take up the opportunity which is there. And our costed plan, Labor's Powering Australia plan, will harness it. It will create 604,000 jobs by 2030, 5 out of every 6 of them in the regions. It will deliver cheaper power to homes, but to businesses alike. Jobs up, profits up, cost of living down. A good policy. Hydrogen is another energy source that has enormous potential for Australia if we have a government prepared to support its development. Now, when people think about whether they should give this mob another 3 years or more of the same, they need to think through what the lost opportunity has been for giving them the last 3 years. Remember at the last election, electric vehicles were going to end the weekend. You can't tow your trailer, you can't tow your boat. Energy storage through batteries was as useful as a big banana or a big prawn, according to this Prime Minister. And according to the government, hydrogen was snake oil. Snake oil. The truth is that it has enormous potential. And today I announce that Labor will invest in kickstarting the Georgetown hydrogen project right here in Tasmania. Line Hydrogen plans to deliver a commercial-scale hydrogen facility. The Georgetown project aims to use solar panels to produce green hydrogen to replace diesel in Tasmanian trucks and buses. Over time, Line could also build at least 5 hydrogen refuelling stations across Tassie, creating jobs right across the state. Labor will support the first stage of the project, which includes hydrogen production and 24 hydrogen trucks, which will be leased to industrial partners. In addition, today I announced that a Labor government will invest in a feasibility study for the Whaleback Energy Park. Once developed, this park would utilise the West Coast's abundant wind and water resources to produce green hydrogen for use in Tasmania, as well as for export to the North Island and to the world. Now, this is the sort of vision that we can seize. We can seize right now. These things aren't theoretical. What has happened, though, over the last decade as the other countries have got first mover advantage, as this government have announced 22 different energy policies. They haven't landed one of them. And when Scott Morrison attends a climate change conference in Glasgow, he gives an empty speech to an empty room because they haven't got anything to say, and we're isolated. We're isolated from global action. We in Australia, with our vulnerable environment, with what we've seen, with the increased extreme weather events, floods, bushfires, what does it take to give some of these numpties a wake-up call that climate change is here right now? But they'll never act because they can't. Because they've got this lead weight in the shape of a fellow who's been, believe it or not, you can sort of commit a mistake maybe by making Barnaby Joyce Deputy Prime Minister once. But seriously? Do you really need a sequel? But that's what we got. So they won't do anything about this. They'll do rhetoric in some areas. You won't see Scott Morrison in Kooyong. You won't see him in Goldstein, Wentworth, North Sydney, Mackellar, Warringah. You won't see him because they simply don't have a tenable, coherent position. We have a position that's about defending existing jobs but creating new ones, seizing the opportunity with cleaner, cheaper energy, transforming existing industries but driving new industries with our National Reconstruction Fund, creating new jobs and new opportunities, making sure that Australians are trained for those jobs with Jobs and Skills Australia, with 465,000 free TAFE places and 20,000 university places. This is a government that struggles with the present and is terrified of the future. We will shape the future in Australia's interests. You know, there we are, well, Energy Park, 4,500 jobs. 4,500 jobs in construction, over 550 full-time permanent jobs in the future. That's the opportunities which are there. We also want to partner with existing industries who want to change or update their operations to take advantage of new sustainable technologies. It's a common theme around the country. Our policy was released on December 3. It's been welcomed. Sometimes you might expect a policy from the Labor Party to be welcomed by the ACTU. But this one's been welcomed by the Business Council of Australia, the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the National Farmers Federation, the Australian Industry Group, by companies that are so far ahead of the government on these issues. Now here in Tassie, there's a company called Ingham's. You might have heard of it. They're aiming to convert their Tasmanian operations into a carbon zero certified business. That's what's going on in the real world. Today I announced that a Labor government will invest $11 million in this project so that we can protect more than 120 jobs here in Tasmania. Now, we'll work with Ingham's to pioneer sustainable manufacturing in the poultry sector, which is scalable across their national operations. Labor will also partner with Costa, providing a co-investment to expand the East Devonport Berry Distribution Centre. And we've already announced funding in investment earlier this week to secure the future of the historic Waverley textile mills. These investments are great examples of how government and business can work together to get better outcomes for workers, business and for local jobs and our national economy. Friends, Scott Morrison has said that Australians know him. Well, he's not wrong about that. I reckon Australians have really worked this guy out. The last election, he was new. He ran on a program of not much, just the photo ops, without a program for this term, and hasn't it shown? But he doesn't have a program for the next term either, just a program for himself. This is a Prime Minister who always goes missing when there's work to be done, except for one thing. He'll always turn up for his own interests, always turn up for the photo interests. Now, Scott Morrison says that it's better the devil you know. He makes it sound like a plea. But the truth is that only the Rolling Stones ever got away with asking us to have sympathy for the devil. And he's certainly not Jagger or Richards. Australians know that Scott Morrison failed on bushfires, and they know he then failed on floods. They know he didn't order enough vaccines and then didn't order enough rapid antigen tests. They know it's harder to see a doctor. They know it's harder to buy a home. And they know that the cost of everything is going up except their wages aren't. I tell you what they really, really know. They know that aged care is in crisis, and this government has not only neglected it before the Royal Commission report, but when you have a Royal Commission report titled Neglect, with clear recommendations, with workforce issues at its centre, and you continue to ignore it, then that's worse than neglect. That's showing contempt for older Australians. That is the devil that Australians know. We can change this on the 21st of May. When you choose a candidate on your ballot paper, you're not just voting for them. You need to look at the team that comes with that name. Now, here in the electorate of Bass, the blunt truth is that a vote for Bridget Archer is a vote for more of the same and a vote for Scott Morrison to remain as the Prime Minister, and a vote for just 3 more years of the same. It's a vote for a front bench that has become little more than a reminder of the need for a National Anti-Corruption Commission. And we know that no matter what individual candidates say, there will never be a National Anti-Corruption Commission under Scott Morrison. The reasons why are sitting on his front bench behind him. If Scott Morrison is re-elected, we will have, continuing as Prime Minister of the country, someone who, when asked about a voice to Parliament, actually responded, like during the election campaign, actually responded, "Why would I?" That was the response. Why would I? Probably because the only voice he's ever interested in listening to is his own. That is who and what you get if you vote Liberal. But friends, as we look to our future, it's worthwhile having a look back just a bit at our past, about what our foundations are of a Labor government. Look at Labor's extraordinary and lasting legacy. Medicare, universal superannuation, the NDIS, the Pharmaceutical benefit scheme. We will protect them all and we will strengthen them all. Not just because they are Labor creations, but because they are great Australian achievements. We are proud of them as a nation. The other mob, what have they got to be proud of? Oh, we blocked action on climate change. We stopped the National Anti-Corruption Commission. We undermined Medicare. We made work more insecure. That's their record. That's their record. But if we are successful on May the 21st, we will add to that list. We will change Australia for the better. The move towards universal childcare. Action on climate change. Support. Investing in renewables. More secure work and a constitutionally recognised voice to our parliament. Because we in Labor do not stand just on our record, but we're energised by it. A legacy of profound and lasting change that makes a difference to our country, makes a difference to families and makes a difference to individuals. Scott Morrison was actually asked in a Herald interview what he wanted his legacy to be, and in a moment of rare honesty said, "I'm not into leaving legacies." Why would you do this job? If you don't want to leave a legacy and change Australia for the better. Our legacies inspire us to reach for even greater heights. To reach for our best days that I know can be ahead of us. I know can be ahead of us. We have such opportunities. If you are thinking about a time to really change Australia for the better, then the difficulties of the last couple of years with the bushfires and the floods and the pandemic are an opportunity for us to not just imagine a better future, but be determined to create it. Be determined to create it, to seize the opportunities which are there. Labor knows how to get Australia there, because Labor is the party that delivers, and a Labor government will deliver for Tasmania. A Labor government that holds no one back and leaves no one behind. A Labor government that won't go missing, will always step up, and a Labor government that will have your back. One that knows what its job is: to give Australia a better government which will deliver a better future. Thanks very much.
Friends, we've heard why a Labor government is so important why the people we seek to represent need us, why we need to elect Anthony Albanese as Prime Minister. They are relying on us to win, and we know that if we don't win, that they will hurt for the next 3 years, because we really need to win this next election. Thank you for coming along today. We really appreciate everybody coming here today, but we also need, as I said earlier, for you to dig deep over the next 2 weeks. We need you knocking on doors, we need you making phone calls, we need you talking to your friends, to your family, to make sure that we win on the 21st of May and we have Anthony Albanese and Labor as the next government of Australia.
Authorised by P. Erickson, ALP, Canberra.